Anxiety comes in all shapes and sizes. One size doesn't fit all. Sometimes it's completely invisible, but most of us experience some form of anxiety. A few months back in December, I started to have bad anxiety attacks. Now I've struggled with anxiety and depression at various times in my life, but never to this intensity. My chest felt so tight, my heart beating 100 miles per hour. Nothing felt comfortable. Nothing seemed able to calm my body and mind down. The worst of it would come on strong during the night, typically after 8 p.m. Up until this point in my life, I was able to always basically talk to myself and calm myself down. But this time was different. Now, all that being said, I can come up with a million different reasons why this was happening. But life can be overwhelming for anyone, and I just think my body and mind had reached a breaking point, possibly mixed with some sort of chemical imbalance. I tend to stay up late. I deal with insomnia time to time. Plus, I developed a semi-bad habit of eating sugary sweets at night before bed. I'd say by this point you have a decent understanding of how I was feeling after this nearly 2-page synopsis. Let's take a step back or step forward. I'm not quite sure. But let's talk about how Death Stranding helped heal my anxiety. I'll start off by saying Death Stranding has to be one of the most polarizing and divisive games I've ever played. People either love or hate this game. Hideo Kojima has a history of producing games that go against the grain, which personally attract me, but I can also see how some people just don't connect with his games. Kojima's games are usually challenging, filled with hidden meanings that require multiple playthroughs to fully grasp the message being told. There is also a connection Kojima's games build with the player, and furthermore the community around his games. Almost like a cult-like following, and people like me tend to follow his every move. I'm telling you this because the connection aspect in Death Stranding brought me comfort when I needed it most. You see, there's nothing more calming about having a simple task to complete. Simply going from point A to point B allowed my mind to focus on a task without being overbearing. I get to choose my own pace, route, and what items I want to bring with me. There is no added stress of someone telling me how to go about it. The simple act of walking through this world as Sam was quite relaxing. Instead of my mind drifting into a rabbit hole of negative thought after negative thought, my mind was at ease, focusing on the next step and maintaining my balance. I'm sure many in the comments will probably say I was overstimulated from the start, and that's what brought on my escalated anxiety to begin with, and I should probably take a break from all devices, including games. My response would be, yes, I agree. And I even tried this method by reading or taking a warm bath, but I noticed my mind would still tend to drift back to those negative thoughts, while nearly obsessing over my elevated heart rate. Now, back to the walking. The act of walking in Death Stranding kept my mind busy enough not to drift while simultaneously not overstimulating myself into another anxiety attack. One of the largest contributors to this is the wonderful music of Death Stranding. Not only is the music relaxing, captivating, and soothing for the player, but it's an incredible way of easing the tension from the stressful moments within the game. Here, let me give you a few examples. Over the years, there have been many soundtracks that have impacted my life, but the Death Stranding soundtrack is actually one I enjoy listening to while driving, or writing a script like this. I really can't stress enough how good the music is, and the timing of the music throughout the game is truly impeccable. Let's get back to the community aspect for a moment. As Sam makes his deliveries, he's for the most part always alone, outside of a few select missions. Sam is living in a digital world just like ourselves in real life to some degree. At this point of our lives in 2023, our cell phones are basically an extension of ourselves. And on top of that, our entire life is posted online. through IG stories and the latest TikTok our best friend shared. Social media has drastically changed over the years. Many of these apps brought us happiness, laughter, and even love in the beginning. Now it's a much different space than before, making us feel overwhelmed, insignificant, lost, left out, anxious, and even depressed. We have become overly stimulated by sensory overload from the amount of information being thrown at us from all directions. Now, don't get me wrong, social media can be very beneficial if used in moderation with a healthy algorithm. But let's be honest, most of us, including myself, spend way too much time on these apps, just mindlessly scrolling and scrolling. The negative comments tend to outweigh the good, and as a creator, a negative title or headline tends to garnish more attention. Hideo Kojima realized this and wanted to create a community of positivity within Death Stranding. You see, in the world of Death Stranding, Sam is alone, but not at the same time. As the player, you can interact with creations of the other players throughout the game. The catch is, you can only like these creations. There is no dislike or negative comment, only positive embracements.
This one's for you.
These positive interactions were refreshing and a breath of fresh air compared to most online engagements in real life. It put me in a more positive outlook with my own life and thoughts. The negative self-talk causing me anxiety was slowly fading, and my mind was returning to a state of calmness and joy. Even when the game gets stressful, there's these little goofy signs that other players create that often eases the tension for you. You know, for example, to have like a little baby on it laughing, and it'll make your BB laugh, which makes everybody laugh. It's a good time overall. Or one of my favorite things in the game is when you travel across some harsh terrain or intense water crossing to make a delivery, and on your way back another player created a very helpful bridge to help you get across the water with ease this go around. These little moments of positivity go a long way in creating a world of positive engagement with the things and the people around you. Konami did a great job creating a game that promotes positive reinforcement while transferring it to real life for the player. The incredible thing about this is the player isn't forced to interact with anything or anyone else. But as you play Death Stranded, you naturally start to embrace these social aspects of the game. I remember looking into the game before I bought it, thinking, this doesn't sound very interesting to me. I felt like I would just play the game and ignore the social aspects. But boy, was I wrong. One of my favorite things to do in the game is to try to help other players by strategically placing a helpful item, like a ladder to scale a mountain, or build a shelter in a remote area to weather a passing storm. I always get a kick out of it when another random player likes my item or appreciates my work. It's difficult to pinpoint where and how Death Stranding helped heal my anxiety attacks, but I have to compliment Hideo Kojima once again for his overall vision of this game. The simple nature of getting from point A to point B, the selection of music and the timely manner of when to use it and when not to use it, the against the grain approach of a community of random people willing to help each other while promoting positivity within the community without forcing it, it's truly unique and helped pull me out of a real funk. I grew up playing Metal Gear Solid and was a huge Hideo Kojima fan, but I never thought one of his games would save me from myself. Who knows if Kojima had any intentions to help anyone behind Death Stranding, but I believe on some level he did. He seems very aware of the world around us, and as humans, how we interact with the tech around us. I mean, if you've played any of the Metal Gear Solid games, you would know about some of his bold predictions regarding the future put into his games, and how some of it was pretty spot on. I look forward to Death Stranding 2 coming within the next few years to see what Kojima's been up to. Hope this video made any sense, or at least you found it interesting. It's difficult to open up about anxiety or depression, but I find it necessary and the first step to getting back to your best self. I hope If anything, this video helps someone else open up and voice how they're feeling. We all have things we are dealing with, and sometimes just talking about it and getting it out to the open goes a long way. As always, thanks for watching, and comment below if any game has helped pull you out of a funk or a dark place. Make sure to like this video if you can relate to it, and consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.